Welcome to Lake TV's Community Spotlight Show, presented by the great folks at COMC, Central Ozarks Medical Center, where your health is their mission. And we're talking about a dark, troubling subject this week. It's human trafficking. So Jeff Green, the General Counsel for Lake of the Ozarks Stop Human Trafficking, is with us. We did a show a while back, Jeff, and we found out we didn't even really, scratch the surface of what there is to talk about when it comes to human trafficking and locally. So we decided to do another show. We had to talk. We had to get more information out there. So thank you for coming back and joining us.
You're more than welcome.
Appreciate it. So in our last show, we talked about human trafficking doesn't necessarily involve the movement of the people. With the word trafficking, you would think that there's movement involved, but this can just stay in a home, happen in a home over the internet.
It can. I'll tell you that I was involved personally, professionally, several years ago with a family who had 4 children, young children. The oldest was 12 years old. And the parents were actually trafficking these children over the internet.
They were trafficking their own kids.
Trafficking their own kids, yes.
That really happens.
Believe it or not, it really, truly does. Wow. Thank goodness mom and dad are both in prison.
Yeah.
And all 4 children were successfully adopted out of the family into, a foster family and were actually adopted, and they're doing well, the last I've heard. But,
wow.
There's only about maybe 5% of the individuals that are trafficked that have no idea who their traffickers are.
Oh, really? So
yes.
95% know who their traffickers are.
They know them either, it's either a friend or a family member, an uncle or a parent or, a step sibling of some sort.
Right.
Most of them know, or they've developed a relationship over the internet.
Right, yeah.
I think we spent some time last time talking about that relationship that develops.
We become friends.
Yes.
Or somebody just has them behind the 8 ball and is telling them what they need to do.
Yeah, yes. The other thing that happens frequently is they develop this friendship over the internet, over whichever application. And they truly believe that they're friends. And so they will willingly walk away with this individual. Traffickers are I'm going to say, very intelligent. This didn't get to be a multi-billion-dollar business because they're not smart businessmen.
Yeah.
And they will convince their individuals to meet them someplace. And they will, oddly enough, they don't want to meet at someplace hidden and dark. They want to meet someplace public. So they'll say, let's meet at Walmart in the parking lot, or a grocery store, or a gas station, because they want the cameras there. So when the car pulls up, the camera shows the individual getting in the car willingly by themselves.
Supposedly of their own free will.
Yes.
Right.
So it makes it much more difficult to say this was a kidnapping type of situation.
It is so diabolical, isn't it?
It really is.
Wow, okay. So let's talk about you a little bit. Are you a lake guy, or did you move to the lake at some point?
So yes.
Both are true.
Both are true.
Okay.
So I grew up in Tipton, so only about 30 minutes
nearby.
north of the lake.
Yeah.
After college, I was working in St. Louis for about 14 years before I opened up my own law office. I actually moved back here in 2000 and joined a law firm here at the lake, and have continued with that firm.
Wow, okay. So local, but I need to live over there by the lake. I want to give me close to that water over there.
That's exactly right.
And when I was reading your bio, obviously you're very involved in the Stop Human Trafficking, but that's not the only community service that you try to be involved in. You've tried to do a whole lot of community service stuff over the years.
I've tried. There's that portion of our society that needs legal help oftentimes. And as attorneys, we're supposed to give back to the community. So I've been involved in our SB 40 boards. SB 40, for those that aren't aware, are for those with developmental disabilities.
Okay.
And so I've been general counsel for the Miller County SB 40 board, the Morgan County SB 40 board. I'm a current member of the Miller County board. to try and give advice to all those people that are in a disability situation, which I think is extremely meaningful and helpful.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, and it's become such a litigious society. So much legalism, and you have to cross your I's, dot your T's. You can't do this, you have to do that.
Right.
It really comes in handy when you have a friend who's a lawyer that can help you through all that stuff.
It is. And, so oftentimes, especially with that disability situation,
Yeah.
those families struggle with just taking care of that child. And unfortunately, from a legal perspective, once that child turns 18, even though their mental capacity may only be 6 or 7, once they turn 18, legally they're an adult.
Right.
And so then we have to go through the guardianship proceedings and the conservatorship proceedings, and those can all get very expensive for a family. So I provided a lot of that service at no cost.
Oh, that's amazing. Wow. Thank you for that.
You're
Thank you
welcome.
for your service and for what you're doing, helping expose the human trafficking situation to the general public. So we're going to talk more about that when we come back. Human trafficking, what it is it a big deal here in our area? We'll talk about all of that and more. So don't go anywhere. You're watching Lake TV's Community Spotlight Show. At COMC, your health is our mission. Central Ozarks Medical Center offers 3 OBGYNs at the Osage Beach Clinic and 2 pediatricians with same-day appointments available. At COMC, our doors are open to everyone with 5 primary care locations conveniently located across the Ozarks. COMC for the best medical, dental, and behavioral health care. Get more info on how COMC can help you at centralozarks.org. COMC, where your health is our mission. If it's happening at the lake, it's happening on Lake TV. From the polar plunge to festivals, parades, aquapalooza, and boat shows, Lake TV has it all. Even the granddaddy of them all, the shootouts. If you're looking for places to party, things to do, or even a new home to move into, you've gotta love Lake TV. Welcome back to Lake TV's Community Spotlight Show presented by the great folks at COMC. We're with Jeff Green, attorney at law, who is a general counsel for Lake of the Ozarks Stop Human Trafficking, among other many local organizations, charities that you help out. So what kind of cases do you normally do as a lawyer? Are you like criminal lawyer? Or what do you do?
Well, I like to tell people I'm a good lawyer.
There you go.
I'll be honest with you, at this point in time, I'm actually working for Camden County as Camden County's general counsel.
Okay.
I handle all of their non-criminal matters for Camden County.
Okay. So that'll keep you busy right over there. And you grew up in Tipton, close to the lake, and now you're here in Shangri-La. So why is stopping human trafficking close to your heart? Is that near and dear? Does that have a personal thing for you?
I've had that question asked a number of times, and I can say thankfully I don't have any personal connection to it.
Yeah.
I got involved in 2016 when the coalition came to me and asked me to set up their 501c3.
Yeah.
And oddly enough, at that point in time, I said, listen, I do those at no cost for charities. But please don't ask me to get involved because I've got too many things going on.
Right, yeah, absolutely.
And here I am still primary speaker for the organization. And really what happened is once I learned how heinous this crime really is
Yeah.
and how much it's going on a day-to-day basis, it was one of those things that I just couldn't walk away from.
Right.
It just needs to have that awareness. I like to think I grew up in a quote-unquote normal family, middle-class family, and this just wasn't something that was ever brought up.
Yeah. Or it was a movie happening somewhere else way far away.
Right.
Yeah.
And so the awareness, it's just one of those things that people just aren't aware of that's going on.
Yeah. Is it a big deal in our community? I mean, I've heard stories I mean, I don't know how you verify that. I mean, you could because you see what's going on behind the scenes, but I hear it is a major issue in our community.
Yeah, I hate to bring this topic up to this wonderful lake area because we like to promote other things. But I think in an awareness situation, we need to understand that, yes, it is.
Yeah.
And I'll give you 2 examples. We put on a seminar training session back in 2017. It was a full-day course that we sponsored for the Sheriff's Department.
Yeah.
And in 2017, I was asking one of the primary deputies, how big a problem is this here in Camden County? Because I was still getting educated. He said, Jeff, we have probably at least 2,500 cases a year.
Wow.
Not that they can prosecute or pursue. He said, but we know what's going on and there's not much we can do about it. The other thing that really brought it to the forefront, because we hear all kinds of things. We know it's happening, and with the lake as wonderful it is, and the waterfront properties, which are all private, there's a lot of things that can go on there. I had one of our local real estate brokers call me up about 3 months ago and said, Jeff, I've got a concern that I wanted to run by you. I have heard a report from some of our realtors that they're concerned maybe we're selling real estate to traffickers.
Really?
I said, frankly, I'd be surprised if you were not.
Wow.
So what's going on to some degree, and I can't put a finger on which house or where, but traffickers are buying houses, probably on the waterfront, somewhat secluded, but not necessarily, and they're running their people through there, for the weekend, for the week, whenever, because this is such a popular spot to go to.
Sure, absolutely. And we hear stories, I mean, we've kind of talked up until now about how they entrap kids a lot of times on the internet and stuff like that. But I also hear, how easy it can be to drug, young ladies especially, I guess, or whatever, and then all of a sudden they disappear. Does that happen?
Drugs are heavily involved in most all trafficking. That's one of the things that helps that mind-altering issue that affects the individuals, whether they're young or old.
Yeah.
And once they become dependent on drugs, that's another hook that the individual has on them. They become dependent. Their supplier suddenly becomes their close friend.
Right.
And the really odd thing is that oftentimes, even once they're in a traffic situation, they still don't look as their trafficker as being the quote-unquote enemy. Mm-hmm. That's somebody that's going to take care of them. Unfortunately, the enemy oftentimes is law enforcement.
Wow. Really?
Yes, because of the fact that most of these individuals are on drugs. When law enforcement initially sees them, they think they're another drug addict, or they think they're involved in prostitution. Mm-hmm. And I can understand that from a law enforcement perspective. Sure. But oftentimes, while that all may be true, it's because of that fraud or coercion that they're involved in that situation. And it appears as though that's what their problem is, where in fact they're actually the victim. Wow.
Wow. And this happens way, way more than we would think. Is Lake of the Ozarks Stop Human Trafficking an organization that needs more volunteers? Would more volunteers help in any way?
We're always looking for volunteers. One of the problems you run into, you can get too many volunteers without having a full plan in place to take care of everyone.
It's always good to have a plan.
It is. What we're looking for right now, probably as much as anything, is just those people that would be willing to help out when we put on an event or a show, or we try and put on small fundraisers, those kinds of things, helping us make people aware.
Yeah.
I do a lot of speaking engagements. In fact, the month of April, for some reason, I've done 4 already.
Yeah.
So we're always looking for people to help that kind of thing. We're going to do a bowl-a-thon of some sort, probably coming up in January, and those kinds of events take a lot of work from people.
Sure.
It's not a lifelong commitment. It's not a year-long commitment. It's something we may need, some help from somebody. So that would be very beneficial.
Okay, and you can find them on the internet.
We're on the internet. It's Lake of the Ozarks Stop Human Trafficking, and then we've also have a Facebook page. You can just Google us and find us real easy.
There you go. Go do that, because obviously it's a great organization, much needed. All right, thank you, Jeff. Appreciate it very much.
You're very welcome.
And thank you for joining us for Lake TV's Community Spotlight Show.